Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to the second hour of LoveBabz, Love Talk. This looks like a Fred Harris symposium. Y'all unmute yourselves. Let's get into it. How y'all doing? Hey, Dr. Monk Kelly,
Hi, how are
Marco,
you doing?
Da, Mr.
How you
Harris,
doing?
Sophie. How y'all doing?
Hello.
Awesome.
Good
Y'all
morning. Good
look
morning.
awesome. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, so Mr. Harris, you coming back to town?
So he's so Fred Harris is 85 years old and still learning how to access his his internet. He's there right now. Dad, can you hear us? We may need to give him another second.
That's all right. So,
Sorry.
He never connected his audio.
okay. So he
Okay,
has to
so
connect his audio. Are you in different places?
I am. I'm in Florida and he's in Detroit, but we're looking forward to coming to New Haven.
I'm so glad. All right, so Sha, talk to me about this festival first. Tell me about what's happening.
All right, so we are super excited. This Saturday is the Hill Neighborhood Festival. These lovely folks are folks who have been a part of the committee and folks helping with the Fred Harris Project. So this Saturday, the Hill Neighborhood Festival will be going down at Trowbridge Park from 12 to 6 p.m. There will be food, games for the kids, performances. We will also be honoring, this is the 40th anniversary of the Trowbridge Hip Hop Festival. So we'll be celebrating those lovely folks. And we will also be celebrating our beloved Mr. Fred Harris, which is really exciting. Mr. Harris, this is his first time coming back to New Haven. I was saying 30 years. And I think it's fair to say he's a Hill legend. Dr. Pam and Sophie and Marco said we got to do something about this. We need to honor Mr. Fred. So Sophie, Marco, and Dr. Pam have been really leading that charge, and they can share more about that. And Fred the Third has been amazing in kind of helping us connect the dots to make sure Mr. Fred gets here.
All right, so Dr. Pamela Monk Kelly, talk to me about Mr. Fred and why, well, not why, but tell me, when this opportunity arose, his name floated to the top and just like, oh, it's time.
Okay, so maybe I should introduce myself and tell my connection to the Hill. So I was born in the Hill at Grace New Haven Hospital. I was raised in the Hill on 263 Cedar Street. I also attended school in the Hill. I went to Prince Street School
Me
and
too.
high school. Did you? Okay. Well,
Yes.
then you're going to like Mr. Fred because he's the person that did a lot of things at Prince Street School. And then I also served God in the Hill. I attend Thomas Chapel Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ. And now I am the co-chairperson of the Hill North Management Team and the co-chairperson of the Hill Fest. So needless to say, the Hill is very dear to me. I was so fortunate to meet Sophie. She was she was doing some research about the Hill. And someone directed her, Mr. Billy Bromwich. He told her, you need to speak with Pam, Dr. Pam. And I said to her when she contacted me, if you speak to me about the Hill, you have to speak with my family collectively. So I invited my siblings to be a part of an interview with Sophie, and then we connected in other areas as well. But she mentioned Fred Harris. And his name had just came to me through Carla Esdell Braggs. And she said, Mr. Harris would love to come back to the Hill to see how much it has changed. And then she said, I can get in touch with him through his son. That really, just resonated in me. I said, oh my God, this would be great. So when I met with Sophie, she started telling me about all the great work that Mr. Harris had done. I said, I know him. I lived it. I was right there. I was there in the middle of the riots. I was in the middle, his children. I know I'm talking too much, but there's so much I can say about Mr. Harris. So with that being said, I'll just say that that started snowballing to an idea. I spoke with Brian with the Hill Fest. I said, let's bring an elder back. And he said, who? And I said, Fred Harris. So that's how it started.
Okay. And so, Sophie, what were you working on exactly?
Yeah, so just for some background, so I also was born and raised in New Haven, lived here my entire life. And so I was doing a research project that was actually looking at the history of the Connecticut Mental Health Center and health activism in New Haven through the lens of the Black Power movement. I was working with Professor Ramos on this. This was actually started out as my master's thesis, but it has become a much larger project. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with all of these wonderful people. And so I'm so grateful to Dr. Pam, who has really been my partner in crime in all of this, and Shaw as well. And I'm so excited to have the exhibit. So we've worked on an exhibit that is in City Hall, highlighting the life and legacy of Mr. Fred Harris, and all of the wonderful things that he did in New Haven. And so it'll be in City Hall through the month of May, and then it will be going to the Wilson Library in the Hill, where it will be permanently installed.
I love it. Hey, Mr. Fred Harris, how are you?
Hello.
How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm just being blown away by all this attention. I'm not one for being in the spotlight.
Well, you gotta have to enjoy it because you can't get out of it now. So when's the last time you've been in New Haven?
Last year?
Last year?
We did one. I was in Hartford. I was in Hartford, not New Haven. I had come back to New Haven, I think in '89 for about a year or so.
Okay.
But then what I was there for, God sent me back. He had me leave my church, leave my family, and go back to Connecticut. And I thought I was supposed to go back there and start churches, but it never went that way. And finally, after a year, the Lord told me to come back. And when I went back, I said, why did you send me to New Haven paying money for a place to live and whatnot? He said, I sent you there to show you that the movement won't take you away from me. And that's why he sent me, so that I knew for sure that I'm supposed to be into the ministry, because the Hill Parents was my life. And the Hill was everything I lived for. And my family.
All right. I'm gonna come right back to you. So Marco, what is your relationship to this project, to this celebration?
Yes, first of all, it's wonderful to be here. And I really want to emphasize that Dr. Pam and Sophie have really been leading the charge. And I'm very much in the background, sort of being supportive where I can. Just to provide a little background of myself. So I've lived in New Haven for the last 10 years. I'm a professor in the History of Medicine department at Yale University. And I've become increasingly interested in the history of New Haven and in Yale's often problematic, intense relationship with the surrounding community. And so I'll just say one note on this. For me, one really important aspect of this is using this history in teaching. So I teach undergraduate students, and I also teach medical students and residents at Yale New Haven Hospital. And I firmly believe that you shouldn't live, much less care for people in a place if you don't understand the history of that place.
Right.
And so I see this history, particularly involving the incredible activism of Mr. Harris, as really essential knowledge for people living in these communities, and particularly for people who are claiming to sort of serve the communities through healthcare or whatever it means. And so I'm just delighted to be a part of this conversation. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. So young Mr. Fred Harris. Is it Fred Harris Jr.?
Yeah, you can just call me Fred Harris Jr. and call him Fred Harris.
Okay, Fred Harris Jr. Did you grow up, were you raised in New Haven too, or you were raised in Detroit?
I was raised in New Haven, and I remember those days of being young, and it's amazing that my recollection is what it is. I can go back to 2 or 3, which would put us in 68 and 69, and remember my mom and dad working, and I remember the afros, the dashikis, and the Black Power fists. And I also remember attending events. It's vague. I remember a summer camp. I remember Congress Avenue. And I also remember J. Edgar Hoover sending the FBI to kick in our doors in the middle of the night. And Miss Professor Marco, nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for your generosity and everything you've been doing. Appreciate you.
So Mr. Harris, I mean, it's 2024. The issues that you were dealing with around parents and schools, those issues are still very much with us. What do you make of this moment that we're in?
It's overwhelming to me. I'm glad to see Mr. Marco involved. I was very heavily involved in the Puerto Rican community, and I was organizing rent strikes in 5 apartment buildings, and the landlord took out a contract on my life. But I learned how to start español poquito.
Excelente.
I love this. So Mr. Harris, I mean, you have a lifetime of freedom fighting and advocacy kind of work. What would you say to the young people who are just starting their freedom fighting and advocacy work? What do you say to them when they want change so quickly? How do you tell them to stay in the struggle?
I think one of the problems is that we that were involved, that were seriously involved and not for personal gain, didn't educate the young people. They have no knowledge of truth. They have no knowledge of life. Life doesn't mean anything to them. They have no understanding about it. They don't understand how important they are. And it just blows me away because so many lives are being wasted. The communities are being destroyed. And Yale University and the universities are gobbling up all the land and moving the people out. And what Mr. Marcos said, you can't provide health to a person if you have no knowledge about them. And that was one of the things. I was fortunate enough to be involved when a doctor from Yale came to me and talked to me about starting the Hill Health Center. And we started that. He was a beautiful man. He was he had a beautiful personality. He was a kind of young guy. And we got it started. And then I forget either Yale took it over or the politicians got involved. And I started moving out because I started working at the Hill Health Center. And one of the reasons why I went there, they were always saying to me, you can't change the system from outside. You got to get inside. So I wanted to get inside and see what I could find out. And, I ran into some problems there with, I can't remember the doctor's name. I choked.
Fritz Redlick.
What was that?
Redlick. Fritz Redlick.
Yes. Now, I didn't just do that to be mean. He was supposed to be signing a contract, and the room was full with mostly women. And he made a gesture like he was going to sign and pull back. He'd done that 7 times. And I just lost. I said, man, you're trying to play with these people. Us, it's just women here. And I started choking him, and that created a problem. But the thing was, I think I probably made a lot of mistakes, but my heart was in it. I meant well, and I wasn't doing it for political gain. I didn't want no position or nothing like that. But I love the community. I love the people. And our organization was made up of poor whites, Puerto Ricans, and blacks. And we were able to do things that never been done in the city before. There were the existing organizations like the NAACP and all them. They were very moderate and whatnot, but they never got nothing done. So we took on the approach. Only way they're going to do something, you got to go at them. So we would go at different things the way they never been approached before, in a very unsophisticated way. it was bad. We'd be swearing and everything else, but the main thing was to make them know we were serious and we weren't going to stop. And then they retaliated on us. That's when they planted drugs in my house and all that kind of stuff. But we had a powerful love. We loved each other. We really loved and cared about each other. And I never seen nothing like that, even in the church.
So, Sha, there's a celebration happening, a kickoff celebration happening on Friday. Are all y'all gonna be there? So tell me a little about who's in charge of that. Like, what is that gonna look like at City Hall on Friday from 12 to 2?
So I can give you a little background. I'll let the team fill in. So we wanted to, so this Friday it'll be a reception. It will be kind of like the opening of the exhibition at City Hall. It's already there. So if you do find yourself walking past City Hall, you can go in and see it. But we wanted to have something formal for Mr. Fred and have the city receive him. So folks will be coming out to speak on his behalf and just give their flowers to him. The mayor will be there to receive him. We have Influence, the poet laureate, coming. So it's really, this is what's open all to the public to kind of really get folks excited about Saturday and just have the opportunity to come out and see Mr. Fred and just really show the folks that, no, the community, we're here to embrace our history. We want to know. In this process, we've learned so much just about the different facets of history that you may not know about the Hill or just know about the Wilson Library and those connections. So many different departments have worked together to make sure this happens. I'll let Sophie or Dr. Pam kind of give you more details about Friday, but it's open. Please come on down, bring yourself, bring your families.
Okay, so Dr. Pam.
All right. So yes, we're very, very excited. And that will be the kickoff at 12 o'clock p.m. noon at the City Hall. From that, we're going to go directly to 5 o'clock p.m. We're going to have another reception, and it's going to be at the New Haven Museum. There, we're going to have it open up with a social hour between 5 and 6, serenaded by our saxophonist, William Fluker. We'll have entertainers. We have singers. We also will be having a slideshow, food, music, and again, people will be able to open up and give their tributes or any type of testimonial information they would like to share. The other thing that will happen at that time, we are going to have it live stream. So we will share the link. So if someone from Detroit would like to see it, or Florida, we know their families are spread far over the country. So we want to also include them. We have, and I'm going to have Sophie take it. We're going to tag team on this, but we also are doing, having a street signage put up. That's Fred Harris Way. And that's going to be located at South Frontage and Park Street. We are short with the signatures at this time, so we have to get more signatures, about 100 from Ward 3. So that's where the sign is going to be located, but it's going to happen. We also have an artist, sculptor, Susan Clenard, and
Yes.
she is creating a bust of Fred's head, and he's going to start that process on Saturday morning. He's going to sit so that he can model for.
Susan Clenard is amazing.
Isn't she?
Her work is stunning. So Mr. Harris, you will be in good hands, literally in good hands.
Amen.
Yes. Okay, Sophie, you could take it over.
Yeah, so I think, well, Dr. Pam's covered a lot of it, but I think in terms of the exhibit, which is currently at City Hall, the motive behind that exhibit was sort of getting a lot of these archival materials and this history of the Hill and the Hill Parents Association out of Yale's archives. So as it exists right now, you have to be, a Yale affiliate to go into the archives and look at these materials. And I think, growing up in New Haven, I knew about the history of the Black Panther Party and the Hill Parents, but I never got to like really interact with that material. And so I saw myself as very privileged to, be a Yale affiliate and be in those libraries interacting with this material. And so with the help of Melissa Graff, one of the librarians here at Yale, we reproduced all of those materials for the exhibit. And so now those materials are out for the public to engage with and learn from. And so I'm really excited that it can then go to the Wilson Library with the lovely librarian, Megan Curry, who has helped us, ensure that we can have the exhibit there. And the exhibit will be alongside Cortland Wilson's bust. And hopefully we're hoping that the bust of Mr. Harris will also go there. So TBD on that, but.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, all right. So Marco, as a professor trying to marry New Haven in the Yale campuses, I mean, how do you do that with New Haven has such rich history. Every neighborhood has rich history. The Hill has extraordinarily rich history. How do you sort of try to convey to the university at large that New Haven is a safe place for students to sort of explore? And when you teach these young people that come, you say to them, go and find out this history. How do you stay in good stead of doing that up against the university, saying, now leave the vicinity?
Yes, that is such a good framing, because in many ways it's exactly the problem that I'm trying to grapple with through teaching. And even last semester, I don't know if y'all remember, the Yale or the police union passed out these flyers to students that claimed that like New Haven was a really unsafe place. It was very dangerous. Give more money to the police because otherwise this isn't safe. So there's all this messaging that the students are getting that New Haven is not a safe place to be and it's dangerous and you should stay within your little residential college at Yale. And so the way that I try to unpack that is really in my role as a professor, because in other contexts, I work with sort of like organizing communities, et cetera. But as a professor, it's really through teaching. And it's through teaching precisely the history that everyone is talking about here, that Fred Harris has talked about, and that Fred Harris lived. And I have a class, for example, called Community, Race, and Health in New Haven. And we start off the class by everyone talking about how do you understand your relationship to the New Haven community. And people talk about this. They talk about how they get all this messaging about it being dangerous. And then we sort of unpack, where did that idea come from, right? Like, it didn't come from nowhere. Where did we get this messaging that the community that surrounds us is a place, it lacks safety? And we sort of see the way that Yale University, the police, et cetera, have sort of propagated this myth. And that is the first step to me in sort of deconstructing it and unpacking it. And so part of that involves reading this history, right? And unpacking these ideas that they've inherited, but also actually going out into the community and experiencing it in a joyful way. And so my teaching always sort of involves also like embodied experiences of leaving the classroom and being in New Haven. And so, yeah, it's not easy because there's so much messaging from the university. But what I've sort of found is that once you get into a room with students and really get them to reflect critically on this history as human beings, it becomes much, much easier to deal with these problems that seem really unwieldy.
All
Can
right, so go
Can I
ahead,
say
jump in.
something? You know, one of the problems we really created was some of the students were moving off campus into the Hill. A lot of students were helping the Hill parents. We would attack the meetings and whatnot. We'd raise Cain, but then we had better statistics than the city had because these students would do the research for us. So we weren't just a bunch of troublemakers, rebel rousers. We began to create real problems the news media controlled everything. And whatever you tried to have printed, they always changed it the way they wanted it. But then some of the students were from different places. There was a Janie Silver. She knew, I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name. But anyway, some of these students had parents and friends that worked for the New York Times, the Washington Post, or whatever it was called. And we started getting information into those papers. Then we really got in trouble. One time we went to Washington and we went to, oh, wow, I can't remember, it's Romney's office. And we had him stop funds that were coming to New Haven. And we did all kind of stuff. The thing was, the Hill parents, we set up a camp where there was over 365 kids that went during the summer. Across the street from our office on Congress Avenue, we set up a park. Being the head, I would charge different guys, giving them a purpose they had to accomplish. And I wouldn't tell them some of it, I didn't even know how. I said, do it. They would go downtown, they'd find out information, and they put stuff together. And some of the Yale professors got involved, and the police would harass them and all that kind of stuff. We set up an independent school, and the school was from whatever until 13 or 14. It was a one-room building. There was an Episcopal pastor, Reverend Schultze. He had this land. It was like a barn or something on their land. And some of the Yale professors would come in and teach. Some of the Panthers taught. My wife and I, we taught. And some of the professors' children came. We were just doing all kinds of stuff that was making the city look bad. New Haven was supposed to be the model city of the country. And then Mayor Lee had won the popular mayor or something like that about 16 times. And the police and the mayor and Yale worked close together. We set up a program. I was able to start a program for Puerto Ricans because they were getting arrested for driving without license. We put pressure on the motor vehicle department so that they could take the test verbally. They had never seen people come together like that. And they just tried to label us as rebel rousers. But what we were trying to do is because we really cared. I don't know if Ann Boyd is still around. I remember her name. And Ronnie Johnson, he was like him and I worked together. His sister Gail. I don't know how many people are still around. We had winos, we had drug addicts, we had all kinds of people, family people. They'd come together and we got things done. That was how we got rid of the principal at Prince Street School. That had never been done before. And we had teachers, maybe I shouldn't say her name, I'm gonna say it anyhow. Harriet Wolf, I don't know if she's still around. Her husband, Rick, was a professor at Yale. He wasn't that involved, but she was a teacher at Prince Street School. And there were about 8 or 9 of them. We got together and had a meeting. And that's how I got started. At the meeting, this brother was supposed to speak at the meeting. And he's a big 6-foot-tall guy and everything. At the time of the meeting, he froze. So they said, well, what are we going to do? Well, somebody got to do something. So I said, what would we have to do? They said, just tell the story. I said, I'll tell the story. So I did. And the meeting was covered by the newspaper. I forget the name of the paper now. But anyway, after the meeting, they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, we got to get rid of the principal. They said, well, how you gonna do that? And I wasn't in previously involved in politics or nothing like that. I was a rock and roll singer. I had problems with drugs. Uh, I was on drugs because I had damaged emotions. I came from a very, very messed up childhood. And the drugs were like medication. I wasn't like being high and all that. I take enough and it would settle me down and I go and do whatever had to be done. And I lived that way for about 17 years. But anyway, they asked me, what are you going to do if the principal won't leave? I said, we'll picket. I didn't know nothing about picketing or nothing like that. They said, when you going to start? And this was on a Friday. I said, on Monday. Still no experience. So Monday came, I got in touch with Mrs. Lopez, my buddy, and in the Puerto Rican community, I got some other people, and we started picketing. And Freddie I carried him in a papoose on my back. So we picketed for 1 week, and I got my job. It was really interesting because the man that was the head of the personnel department was Italian, and what's his name? Barberi. He was a strong arm man for the mafia, and in the city, he ran. Black people had to get permission from him to do anything. And so, anyway, this guy gave me a week off uh, to picket, and after the week, nothing happened. So I told him, I said, I need another week. He said, Fred, I'm sorry, we can't do that. So I'm thinking about my children. I said, well, I got to do this for my family. So I went back and I started John Wilhelm. That was my right hand, my brother. I love him. I've been trying to get him to find out where he was all these years. And him and I, we worked close together. And Dick Florinell, he went to Yale. He was a Yale grad student. Anyway, the city started sending people, black teachers, to say they could take the place, and we didn't accept none of them. And they sent people that knew my father, all kinds of stuff. But we weren't accepting anyone. Then one guy came that we thought was pretty good, George Harris, and he started off pretty good, but when you're in that system, you got to go with the system. Eventually, one by one, he started firing the 8 teachers that were involved in helping us. But we eventually got rid of the principal, and people started inviting me to speak, and I know nothing about speaking. So one of the gentlemen said to me, he said, Fred, you're naive. So I said, I guess I don't know what naive means. So he told me, he said, whenever you can get a group of people together and they can get their demands met, that's power. And that thing hit me. Together, together, together. And we had that hill on fire. We had a production company, and somebody was from Yale that ran that, and they were very professional. We did a lot of things that weren't right.
Well, I'm so glad you're being celebrated. So Sha, Saturday, the festival is honoring Mr. Harris. And tell us how long the festival's been doing these community cultivations.
Yeah, so this is 11 years of the neighborhood festivals, which has been amazing because they've grown from 2 to 5. The Hill has been a part of, I believe, since the inception of the neighborhood festivals at Arts and Ideas. But this year is really, really special because all the neighborhoods have grown in a different way. The Hill, they're having essentially a 2-day celebration, and the legwork that has gone through not just having, a celebration of a traditional festival in neighborhood, but diving into work like this, diving into the history. You can see the same with the Freddie Fixer weekend that Miss Diana's put together in West Hills, West Rock. They have a parade now. Miss Honda's doing great things. And then their neighborhood festival in Fairhaven Day, as folks went to about 2 weeks ago. But I'm extremely, extremely proud
And Newhallville is coming up too.
Yep, in Newhallville, Miss Kim is having, there will be a car show in Newhallville that is May 26th, I believe. That's
Okay.
Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, but this is so special. And we're actually doing a documentary about the neighborhood festivals and their work in the different neighborhoods that we work with. So the 6 neighborhoods that the festival covers is The Hill, Newhallville, Dixwell, West Hills, West Rock, Fairhaven, and this year we're covering Long Wharf. So that documentary is called Elm City, The Heartbeat of Connecticut. Will
Wow.
premiere on the New Haven Green in the Festival Center on Juneteenth at 6 p.m. And we really, really hope everybody can come see the work and the power that the neighborhoods have done and that they're continuing to do.
Well, thank you all for being such great guests. I'm looking forward to the 2-day celebration in the Hill. So kicking off with Mr. Harris being honored at City Hall, which is fitting, and then party down in the Hill proper on Saturday. So thank you, Fred Harris Jr. Thank you, Sophie Edelstein. Thank you, Professor Mark Ramos. Thank you, Sean McAllister, and thank you, Dr. Pamela Monk Kelly. And thank you, Mr. Fred Harris. It is an honor to have you on my show this morning. And
Thank you
and
very much.
Thank you
Can
for
I just say
lighting the
thank
torch.
Can I just say thank you to all of you for the untiring labor that you put in putting this thing together. I hope I handle it well. I'm not used to all this, but
You're
thank
doing
you,
just fine.
Ms.
You
Monk.
did pretty good to be 85, old man. Pretty good. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, honey.
Pam and Sophie. This doesn't happen without them two. Good job, Pop.
And can I add one thing that we're going to give him at the Hill Fest, a key to the hill. So we're
Yay.
excited about that.
I love that.
He'll be the
All
first
right.
one.
So it should be fun. It's going to be a good time. So
Yes.
people are listening and people are watching y'all. So it'll be wonderful. So thank y'all, and thank you, Shah. And I will definitely be at I'll run into you somewhere, Mr. Harris, during these 2 days. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
you.
God bless.
All right.
See you
Take care.
soon.
See you
Take
soon.
care. Yes, absolutely. Harry, thank you.